Rockstar MBA, 77 untapped lessons on life, business, marketing, entrepreneurship, and leadership from Rockstars. Rockstar MBA.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Rockstar MBA. On today's show, we're meeting with Brian Gross, the president of Bach to Rock. And here's a clip of Brian.
Really sort of hit me how unique and fascinating this concept was. We have a twice-a-year Battle of the Bands where all of our, the idea is that in a co-op you would do this, but right now our co-op is our corporate stores. There's 6 corporate stores in the Washington, D.C. area. We bring together kids in the elementary, middle, and high school age divisions together for a 3-day festival of music at a nationally renowned venue called the 930 Club here in Washington, D.C. And we had, most recently in December, 100 bands competing over those 3 categories over about 24 hours. And, we have press there from, all the major outlets. We have television there. And you have kids that, are in first, second, third grade that you would think are professional musicians. It's amazing to watch kids in front of audiences of upwards of 1,000 people, just seasoned professionals.
Welcome to Rockstar MBA. What if the secrets to life and business success weren't found just in boardrooms, textbooks, classrooms, and journal articles, but through music and the arts? Rockstar MBA shares the untapped knowledge and wisdom acquired and shared by rock stars and the arts. And now, welcome your host, Dr. Martin J. McDermott of Rockstar MBA.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Rockstar MBA. My name is Martin McDermott. I'm the host and author of Rockstar MBA, 77 Untapped Lessons on Life, Business, Marketing, Entrepreneurship, and Leadership from Rockstars. So several years ago, I started a journey of writing a book called Rockstar MBA, and the book was released in December of 2025. And the theme of Rockstar MBA is that we can learn lessons on life, business, marketing, entrepreneurship, and leadership from rock stars and artists. So the book challenges you to see the world differently, where art and business are not opposites, but they're complementary ways of understanding creativity, value, and also human connection. Today, we're going to play a previous interview with the president of Bach to Rock, Brian Gross. And Bach to Rock is a music education school for students of all ages, from early childhood through high school and even beyond. And the B2R Method is based on the idea that learning music is fun and students learn more effectively when they play music that they like. So let's go right into our interview with Brian Gross, the president of Bach to Rock.
Now, if you guys were at a franchise show and someone came up to your booth, Brian, how would you describe Bach to Rock? I mean, what would you say to them if they said, "What do you guys do?"
Yeah, I mean, at its essence, it's a concept where we're teaching music primarily to kids, but also to adults and even senior citizens.
Wow.
And we do it in what we think is a unique and unusual way. I'm sort of the classic failure story in music education. As a child, I took guitar lessons. A woman came to my home, and it was a one-on-one experience in my home. We worked out of sort of traditional method and songbooks. In fact, the John Denver songbook I remember to this day. I was into heavy metal at the time, so it was a mismatch for my personality. What we try and do is transform it almost like in a little league team sports environment. So we do have the private lesson where you're working with our professional musicians, but we have our own custom arrangements of music that kids want to listen to and play. But more importantly, we put them into social interactions playing with other kids. So whether that's a classical ensemble, if that's the path they choose, or a jazz ensemble, or a rock band, the real thrill is being able to play with other musicians and other kids your age, or even adults. We have many adult bands. We have what we call mommy bands. They're stay-at-home moms that come together during the day and play. We have daddy bands. We have senior citizens ensembles. It's really the joy of playing with other people.
I love the analogy of, almost like a little league or baseball team, I mean, it really is. And I had the same experience as yourself where, the gentleman came to your house and then taught you how to play guitar. And it wasn't very interesting. It was very quick to kind of like lose your enthusiasm playing the John Denver songs and things like that, because that's not what probably you wanted to play or I wanted to play, So I think the whole system is very clever. How you guys set it up. How about a little background on the history of the organization? Like, how did this whole thing come about?
Sure. Yeah, it was actually our founder, Jeff Levin, was a middle school music teacher. He was Juilliard trained. He was a professional musician, and he was in the school system. And you know, as with many teachers in the school system, they sometimes have ideas on how they might do things differently. And Jeff, the same type, and he thought there was a better way to bring things to children through music, and started his own school. Actually, here in Bethesda, it's our flagship corporate store. And by chance, Cambridge Information Group, who's the owner of Bach to Rock, the principals behind it, one of the executives here took his son for lessons at Jeff's school. And he was actually a musician himself, David Levy.
Right.
And he just fell in love with what Jeff was doing. He thought you know, the brilliance of it was maybe simplistic in approach as we talk about it now, but not. It was like unlike anything else that was available. And David brought it back to Cambridge Information Group. We instantly recognized how unique and transferable this concept would be nationwide, and partnered with Jeff, and you know, acquired the business and have grown it since.
That's fantastic. I'm a marketing professor. One of the things I tell my students is to, you know, pay attention as far as, you know, what's going on in our society today. And it seems like, you know, with all the American Idols and my wife loves these shows, The Voice and all those other shows, it would seem like it seems like there's a need, you know, for this kind of franchise or this kind of service, so you could say. Would you agree? Absolutely. There's actually two interesting forces in play right now. One is that the school systems are moving away from music and the arts. You know, so they're scaling back on their programs, making it less available to students. At the same time, it's never been more popular. And you mentioned the television shows, Glee, American Idol, Voice, X Factor, but also things like Apple and iTunes. And then even when you think about gaming, Rock Band and Guitar Hero were two of the top 10 best-selling games as of a year or two ago in history. And then compound that with instrument ownership is actually at a decade-all high, and concepts like Best Buy are rededicating floor space. So in over 100 of their units, they're taking out 3,000 square feet and dedicating it to music instrument sales and PAs and things of that nature. Even the Walmarts and the Targets have gotten into the low end of the business with aisles of instruments. So it's an interesting dynamic. Everyone's moving towards music and instruments and playing and listening. Well, at the same time, the schools are moving away from it. So there's a huge gap for the youth of just getting exposure and getting education in it. Absolutely. It sounds like technology is a big part of this business, would you say? I mean, has technology played a role with Bach to Rock? It really has, both on the customer side and also on the business side. So each one of our schools is fully outfitted with a professional recording studio. As part of our philosophy of having children and adults play together, that's coupled with working on original songwriting and also working in our professional recording studios, so that you can sort of see how this comes to fruition. And it's not that everyone wants to be a rock star or an opera singer, whatever, but it's just one of those things where it just furthers your education. You sort of understand music better when you're trying to write your own music and then when you're recording it. So from a technology standpoint, obviously that's been a huge component of it. But also from a business standpoint, our entire backbone of our business is a proprietary system called Harmony Gateway that we built to basically run the school. And it does everything from CRM, management of prospect inquiries, to billing, scheduling, payroll. It's really, sort of the nuts and bolts in the entire of the business. Wow, something. The industry, it's hard to, I guess, classify you guys. I mean, as far as what industry you guys are actually in, Brian, I mean, would you say, is it education industry, and are there any numbers as far as how big your industry actually is? Yeah, that's a great question, because in terms of our locations, we're service retail. We're in Class A retail locations, so we're open 7 days a week, a lot of hours, most holidays. It is education. I mean, at the end of the day, our job is to teach music to our students, and there really isn't a true,
branded competitor that you can point to.
Right.
A lot of mom and pop music schools around the country. It's a lot of music teachers that'll either come to your home or you'll come to their home. But there isn't that, sort of well-known, established brand across the country or internationally that you can point to. But when you look at, music education, obviously the industry is enormous. The number of students, regardless of age, that take music instruction is very, very large. So the opportunities for someone like ourselves are great, and we really envision ourselves of having 400 or 500 of these nationwide. And because music, applies to any language, we really see this as an international concept over time.
Oh, I would agree with that, absolutely. So to put you on the spot, what's been the most interesting thing that's happened to you since joining Bach to Rock? It's hard to say if one thing stands out, but is there anything that...
Yeah, I'd say there's one personal, and then we'll do one company. I mean, for myself, when it really sort of hit me how unique and fascinating this concept was, we have a twice-a-year Battle of the Bands where all of our, the idea is that in a co-op you would do this, but right now our co-op is our corporate stores. There's 6 corporate stores in the Washington, D.C. area. We bring together kids in the elementary, middle, and high school age divisions together for a 3-day festival of music at a nationally renowned venue called the 930 Club here in Washington, D.C. And we had, most recently in December, 100 bands competing over those 3 categories over about 24 hours. And, we have press there from, all the major outlets. We have television there. And you have kids that, are in 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade that you would think are professional musicians. It's amazing to watch these kids in front of audiences of upwards of 1,000 people, just seasoned professionals. And to see all of that just makes you, understand just how compelling this is.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, certainly last year as a company, when we were recognized by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest 500 growing companies, privately held companies in America, that sort of validated that what we're doing really makes sense in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that. Congratulations on that, by the way. I mean, that's fantastic. I thought that was huge. So what types of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees? That's
a good question. A lot of people ask, I'm not a musician, but this sounds really interesting. That's okay. In fact, being a musician is by no means a prerequisite. I'm not a musician, although I had those lessons as a child. Really, at the end of the day, it's someone who's dedicated to running a business, so they have a strong management or business background. They have the ability to build teams in the sense of your administrative team, as well as your musicians that are teaching your students, and someone who has a passion. You don't have to be a musician, but it's certainly if you have passion for either kids or education or music, I always encourage people to sort of work in an area they can be passionate about.
Absolutely. This was well said. So what's the training like? Once someone says, I want to be part of this whole thing, I want to become a franchisee, what's the training like from there, Brian?
Certainly. Well, it certainly starts, we provide support from the very beginning, from site selection, lease negotiation, architectural and contractor support. But then, of course, there's a couple different sets of training we do. We do a 90-day out training where we're giving you a lot of the initial activities that you're going to need to get started with to be successful. Then we do another training 30 days out where it's now becoming more focused on, okay, when we're getting ready to open, these are the things you're going to need to be proficient around.
Right.
And then we actually are on site at your opening to be there to make sure that you're ready to go, and if not, we're there to support you to make you successful. And then we'll have ongoing training, most of which will be in person, but we're also trying to create some virtual or web-based training so that people can continue to learn about our programs, our methods, new ways of teaching. It's a never-ending cycle of sort of constantly coming up with new approaches, new arrangements, new ways to bring music to the students.
That's fantastic. Is there a typical day, would you say, for a Bach to Rock franchisee? Are there Mondays?
Yeah, I would say there's
Fridays.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't say there's a typical day, but I'll give you some of the things that you may do on any given day. The nice thing is we want our franchisee or site director to really become part of the community. While we want to be a nationally branded music school, it's really at the school level, it needs to be part of the local community. So it's kids and parents and adults from the community coming to the school. And as such, when they're out performing, because remember, performance is such a key component, they're back out in the community performing. And all of the instructors are coming from that community to work for us. So it's really key. So in a typical day, before the school is really up and running, you might be out working with local coffee houses, restaurants, business associations, schools, churches, things like that, and both talking about bringing your programming to them and as well as bringing your performers to them. Certainly, there's always the constant need for customer service and talking to prospective customers. There's always hiring and training of your staff. There's the day-to-day of just all the students coming in. We do have programs from as young as 3 years old, so there's some morning activity with early childhood. There's activity with adults and seniors during the day, and then all the children that are in school typically come between 3 and 8 p.m. And then the weekends, we sprinkle in birthday parties and other activities to support it. We have a really neat birthday party concept. You don't need to be able to play music. You could never have picked up an instrument in your life.
Wow.
And in 2 hours, we'll have a group of kids playing a song, going into our studio, recording it, and leaving with a disc of their work for the day.
God, that's a big market right there in itself. I mean, it's just, in studying all the different opportunities that can come from this type of service is really quite amazing. What advice, because you have tremendous experience all around, Brian. I mean, what advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring franchipreneurs. They're kind of set on the fact that they want to buy a franchise, but most of them just don't know where to begin because there's 2,000, 3,000 different opportunities out there. What would you say to them?
Yeah, there's a handful of things I'd look at. It goes back to, I'd start with, look for something that is unique and that you have passion for. As you mentioned, there are so many different options out there.
Yeah.
You really this is something that you hope you're going to be doing for a while, and you want to be able to really enjoy what you do every day. And so first and foremost, I'd start there. And then obviously there are financial considerations, and it's key to make sure that whenever you start a business that you're not undercapitalized. So, make sure that you can afford to get into the concept you're getting into. Because in the beginning of anybody who's ever started a business, the beginning's always rough. I mean, it's not an easy thing. If it was, everybody would be able to do it. So you always need to be able to go in prepared. And if you're passionate about what you do and you're prepared financially for it, then, with good work ethic and with a little bit of luck, you can be successful.
Wow. So what's next for you guys, Brian? I mean, it sounds like you have an idea of how many franchises you'd like to have in the future, but if you like a 5-year plan, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, we're really excited. We hope to be able to announce later this month the signing of our first franchise agreement for a multi-unit deal on the East Coast, and that'll sort of kick us off on what we hope is to start an East Coast expansion of franchising, along with some additional corporate stores, and then ultimately over the next 2 to 5 years, expansion westward. And like I said, our goal is really 400 to 500 franchises in the U.S. And then certainly this concept has legs internationally. And what we hope to be able to say is that Bach to Rock is the branded national music school that doesn't exist today.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I could see you guys, of course, going to an international franchise convention and a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs taking that concept back to their country. It makes a lot of sense. What about the location? I didn't really ask you much about the location, like how much space is required, and do you need to be in a key location for this type of service?
Our prototype is 2,500 square feet.
Okay, 2,500. Okay.
It's not absolute, but we typically look at retail space. It's nice, particularly when you're talking about the children that are our students.
the mom can drop off and have the flexibility to either go to the grocery store, the drugstore, the cleaners, grab a cup of coffee at Starbucks, something that gives them some usage of their time that they enjoy as well. In terms of specifics, because it is a music school, because noise is a consideration, we're typically looking at single-story units. If you have to start soundproofing ceilings or floors, you get into some additional complexity there. But we have locations. We have the 6 corporate stores I mentioned. 4 of them are in retail. One's actually in a multi-use building, and one's actually in an industrial space. So as long as you have an aggregation of households with, we measure it based on number of households with children over a certain income threshold. Pretty much if you can, within a 5-mile radius, have that density, then we know you can have a successful Bach to Rock.
That's fantastic. What's the best way for our listeners where they can get more information on becoming a franchisee and all the other things that Bach to Rock does, Brian? Any websites they should go to?
Absolutely. They can go to our website. It's B2Rmusic.com. Okay. That's B2Rmusic.com.
Easy enough. That's fantastic. And I'd like to thank you again for coming on the show. I think you guys have an amazing